Hello, friends. I'm Donna Clement Petrushka, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. My father, Kim Clement, carried a unique prophetic anointing that allowed him to reveal God's heart and divine truths in ways that continue to resonate deeply today. His prophetic words, teachings, and worship moments are not just history. They are a living testament to God's ongoing work. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive. Every prophetic moment, every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. This treasure trove of spiritual wisdom and revelation is here for you to explore and be inspired by. But that's just the beginning. We've also enhanced the prophecy database, meticulously updating it with new video content and profound insights. This is more than just a collection. It's a living resource where you can delve into prophecies and see how they align with today's world. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. As part of your membership, you'll also gain access to my prophecy blog, where I break down and analyze my father's prophecies, connecting them to current events. This blog will provide you with exclusive insights and a deeper understanding of how God's word is unfolding right now. And we're offering something truly special: exclusive analysis sessions available only to members of the Prophecy Vault. These sessions will go beyond the surface, providing in-depth exploration of specific prophecies and their implications for today and the future. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. Together, we can ensure that my father's prophetic legacy continues to inspire and guide generations to come. So, I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside.
Welcome to Real Life, Real Faith, where we discuss very real topics and apply our faith to them. I'm joined, as always, by Pastor Fa and Christy, and today we are posing the question, is there a cure for loneliness? The first thing that I would say is a cure necessary. Some people like to be alone, but there is a difference between being alone and being lonely. You can be surrounded by 1,000 people and still feel like you're alone and isolated. And that is what we are wanting to talk about today. And I'll just break this down and then pass it off to my amazing co-host here. And I just want to jump in with David. So starting in Psalm 23, he expressed what God is to him. You're a shepherd, never leave me, all those wonderful things. Then just 2 chapters down in Psalms 25:16, it says, turn to me and be gracious, for I am lonely and afflicted. So he just had this high moment where he's like, man, God, you're these things, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, make you lie down in green path. I mean, he's just like going on. But then just 2 chapters, he's like, I'm alone and I'm afflicted. Turn to me. Then later in Psalms 30:2, it says, oh, Lord, my God, I cried to you for help and you have healed me. So I see there was a high, a low, and then a solution. And so in loneliness, I feel like David really was expressive in his lonely seasons and lonely struggles, as well as like some other prophets, Elijah, Jeremiah. We could go on and on. I'm sure Christy will touch on many of those. But loneliness is hard. And is there truly a cure for that? Or is there a way to cope with that when you really have no idea how to even address that, Pastor Fall.
Of course, Jesus fills our hearts in that space within us that is that only He can fill. And I can say without question, absolutely yes, but also no, because there's no cure in the sense that if we're going to walk with Him, then we're going to be rejected. And that's a type of loneliness that I don't think we can avoid. So for someone that is without Christ, of course, there's nothing like coming into a relationship with God. But Jesus said, He said, because if the world hated Him, they will hate us also. There's a loneliness that won't be cured in a sense then, I feel. That's the way I look at it. But it's something that you can handle, On the other hand, you could have 6,000 Facebook friends and be extremely lonely. You could be in a marriage, many are, and are extremely lonely. You could be in a mega church and be extremely lonely. So the presence of people certainly doesn't do it. It's the knowledge of the love of God, the experiential knowledge of the love of God that fills that spot. But we're not of this world. So there's always a dissatisfaction that's never going to be, it shouldn't be. We should feel uncomfortable. We should be fighting constantly because we have to. It's part of our survival. And I say that in the sense of, I think there's a loneliness that we need to accept. That's just the way I'm looking at it. And, I'm not trying to be George Patton, but you know what I'm saying? That's the way I feel.
Yeah. Christy?
I think different people have different callings. And I do think that there's a certain level of burden that some people bear. Like Kim had a lot of children and a lot of people around him, but I know there were times that he felt extremely lonely because nobody else was carrying the level of burden that he was carrying. And speaking of the prophets, often Elijah would lament that he felt alone, and it's because he was. Yes, he was surrounded by a lot of people, but it was him who was responsible for being the mouthpiece of God's will and desire. And as with anything, just think about growing up. When you're trying to do the right thing, if everybody else around you isn't, it can be a lonely road to walk when you're trying to do the things that are right, if everybody else around you isn't. And I think that can be one element of it, like the loneliness that kicks in because of a burden. But then I do also think that, God made us to be in relationship. And I think a lot of people allow themselves to become isolated because of hurt. And there's a lot of people that watch us that don't go to a local church. And that's because a lot of you have experienced church hurt. And that is totally valid, completely understandable. I'm not standing here advocating that, you rush into a new group of people if you're uncomfortable with that. But even Jesus wanted his friends around him when he was going through trials. When he was praying before he went to the cross, he said to them, "Can't you even watch with me for 1 hour?" And what we see there is loneliness that his closest friends weren't able to pray with him in his time of need. And so I think, I don't want to say there's a cure to it because I don't know how every single person feels, but I do know that giving back to other people can really make a big difference to the way we feel. Mm-hmm. Like, when I was volunteering at the prison, I volunteered at the Tennessee maximum security prison. It was a federal one for women. And, it's quite something to go in there, like very strict dress code. You're allowed to go in with nothing but your name tag. You have to leave everything at the door. And you go out into this quad and that there's women. I was hanging out with women who were murderers. I was hanging out with women who some of them were in prison for life with no chance of parole. And even in the prison, there was community and there were also people who were lonely. And when I was struggling and feeling lonely, going out there because, I'm a foreigner. It was before I really knew that many people. And so I was at this church and they had this program where you could go in with God behind bars to go in and volunteer at the prison. And I could have sat back and been like, well, nobody's reaching out to me. But I decided to go out and try and give something to reach out. And in turn, that filled my heart up. So I don't want to go ahead and say, well, there's a cure to it. But I do think that by serving, and I'm not talking about over-serving to the point of being burnt out, but just by going in and doing something that is giving back, that is going to help other people, I do think that there's something in that, and God orchestrated it that way and designed it that way so that just by being with other people and helping other people, we're able to have some of our tank filled.
Yeah, because I think that there's a huge, there's a fine line between feeling lonely and feeling like all these voids are like, empty. Empty voids. And so being a part of something that's bigger than yourself it can fill those voids for sure. I just had a posing question. If you're watching, it's like part 2, okay? Like question part 2. I know we're made in the image and likeness of Christ. And whenever he made Adam, he created him to help me. Do you think that God was lonely? It says in Isaiah that he formed and framed us for him. So it's not a right or wrong. I just wanted to pose it. Were we not in a negative how we view loneliness, but for a reason for us, do you feel like sometimes we feel that in such a negative way, but God felt it differently and therefore we were created? It's just a question.
Well, I think there's room for that.
It's not saying that God was perfect. A lonely one, but he is perfect.
No, I mean, anything, but I don't know how to word it other than, I think that, he loves us more than we could possibly know. The way he created, what he created is so amazing. And that he would want us it's a bit of a mystery, but I think he could be disappointed. I think he could miss someone, and in a sense, he could experience a degree of loneliness. I can't explain it, but I kind of feel like he can do that and without sin or without being less than God. I don't know if that even makes sense.
Well, I was asked the question. It was just a difficult question. I was just asked this question the other day.
You were asked the question?
Yes, I was asked this question, because it was someone who was mad at God, okay? And they were like, well, is God selfish? Was he lonely? Did he just make... And my answer was, well, he's perfect, and there are things that there are mysteries of God that we will never be able to fully fathom. And then I was like, is there a cure for loneliness? And that was just kind of how this whole topic and the question is, because I was like, I wonder how many people are really, because our yearning and our desire is to know God. And so to ask these questions about the character of God is, I feel like there's many people, if you're watching and you've ever asked yourself, why are we created? Why do I feel these things so heavy? God is a jealous God. We're made in the likeness. Did he struggle with what I struggle with? And that's why I was just being brought to this question.
Well, what drove him to the cross? And when he was on the cross, did he feel lonely? He's God.
Yeah,
right?
Why have you forsaken me?
Somehow I feel God has a capacity because he's so passionate toward us, and he's so, I don't want to say driven, but it's so deep that, and does he grieve the separation of someone who refuses him? God feels things.
Right. And I think in a completely unimaginable capacity than we could ever fathom. God is more than dust, more than flesh and bone. He's God, he's sovereign, he's majestic. And so I think his ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so to try to put God in a box, that was a part of my answer to that question, was to try to put him in a box as something so small to God in comparison to what is so big to us, as in loneliness. Yeah. I don't think that he looked at it, viewed it, experienced it, felt it the exact same way that we do.
No.
But is there a cure for loneliness? Absolutely. Going back to the scripture, Psalms 30:2, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you have healed me." He was lonely, David was lonely, and he was afflicted. And so, is there a cure for loneliness? Yes. Just like Pastor Foss said, yes, there is. And that all becomes in just saying, God, I need you. There's more scriptures that talk about how he won't forsake you than there is talking about how he will. There's none that way. And so he will never leave you nor forsake you. There is comfort in knowing that when you are alone, you're never truly alone, because the presence of God can invade you, can fill the voids. There are things that we can do to do that, be a part of things that are bigger than yourself, serve your community, serve your church, serve your children. And there's a topic that Pastor Fall touched on, but feeling lonely in a marriage. God can really begin to bring restoration there. And it all begins in crying out to the Lord for help. Sometimes we can't help the spouse, but we can help how we feel in that situation. And that's all through opening up our mouth and creating an opportunity for God to come in and fill those voids and restore the brokenness that we have inside of us. So we are so happy to be able to pose these difficult questions. As you know, we don't have all the answers, but we are striving to know God more and to know his character and likeness. And if you would like to continue to have more conversations and topics and answers to these questions, just like today, you can support the discussion by following the link at the bottom of your screen. You can email us with questions, with prayer requests, with topic ideas at realliferealfaith@houseofdestiny.org. We would love to hear from you, and let's see what we're talking about next week.
How can we focus on simple truths? How can we sort of get back to the basics of our salvation, walking that out with fear and trembling?
That is just where society is now, is everything is so flooded. So when you try to strip things away and just focus, it is extremely hard.
Keeping focus in this world is really critical. So I think we lose our focus in our marriages, we lose our focus with our children, we lose our focus in our jobs. You know, you go to a retreat and you get it all back, you know, temporarily, you know, whatever that retreat might be. So maybe that tells us that we need to focus and invest in the time.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.